So is it better to invest in something like the S&P 500, stocks and shares ISA, which is tax-free and pays you about 9% a year on average over a long period of time? Or is it better to invest in property? Here are the numbers, okay? I've taken an example of a property that we can help you buy in somewhere up in the north for about £85,000. You can buy a 2-bedroom house in around Rotherham area. The rent there would be £700 a month. So £85,000 purchase price, 25% down as your deposit. That's the loan amount, 63,000. Currently, there's some mortgages available. I saw one recently at 4.64% with the mortgage works, so I'm using that. Your monthly interest would be £247 a month. Now, if you take into account legal fees of £1,500, and we have a sourcing fee if you want us to help you find it for £3,000, the total would be £4,500. You don't need to do that. You can go and find your own properties if you have the time and patience and you know what you're looking for. Stamp duty, £4,250. That's taking into account the 5% that we're going to have to pay as a buy-to-let landlord for a second property. We've added £2,000 as a quick refurb cost. Sometimes it needs a lick of paint or a few repairs. Total investment is £32,000. A property in this area will rent for £700 a month. We've just rented one out. That's £8,400 a year. Now I've taken out annual expenses of 2 months rent. This is not typical if you are self-managing. Here I've put down this amount because I've taken into account 10% management fee and also maybe around almost a month's worth of rent, which would be for repairs and maintenance and maybe void periods. Very often you don't have these kind of costs, to be honest. So this is a very high figure, I would say. £1,400 a year on something that's 8,400 rent. Even with that figure, the ROI works out at 12.6%. It's a very good ROI. That's the gross profit of £4,042 a year. Now, I've also put into account that you've maybe bought it under a limited company and paying 19% as corporation tax. This is what your profit would be after tax for your first year. As the rent goes up every year, this will increase your total rent after these, I think these are 11 years, would be £46,000 in rental profits. So your initial investment was £32,000. This is the profit you've made just on the rental after 11 years. That would be at the end of 2035. Now, if you take into account your capital growth as well, and here I've put capital growth as, so I've put here house price increase of 4.3% per annum, which is exactly what it was in the area where we've bought, which is Rotherham. Over the past 10 years, it's been 4.3% average. And the rent increase at 3%, so it's very close to inflation. If you then take that into account, your total profit, including your capital growth minus CGT at 28%, your total value at the end of the 11 years would be 113,000 almost. If you compare that to putting in the same amount, £32,000 into an ISA, stocks and shares, S&P 500, which is giving you approximately 9% a year, by the end of that period, you'd end up with a total value of 82,000. So the comparison is, do you want to do a buy-to-let, end up with 113,000, or are you happy with an ISA, which is obviously a lot less work, but you end up with 82,000. So time and again, I hear people say, oh, it's very hard to get onto the property ladder. We can't do this, we can't do that. We don't know how to do it. So we are helping people get onto the property ladder. We are going to help source the properties for you. And if you look at all the numbers, they've included a sourcing fee. They've included management fees. My son will be helping to do that. If you're interested, drop me an email at iyazmirza1970@gmail.com and we can help you start off getting onto the property ladder. Yes, you do need a little bit of money to start off. So you need about £30,000 saved up. But there are other ways of raising that money as well. And you can have a chat with us about that.